Gongitsune. Gon, the little fox. Nankichi NIimi. Translated by Mizuki Meido. Chapter 1. This is a story I heard from an old man named Mohe who lived in the village I was from. Back in the days, there was a small castle in a place called Nakayama near our village, where lived a samurai lord known as Lord Nakayama. A little while from the mountain and the castle lived a fox named Gongitsune. Gon, the fox. Gon was a small, lonely fox who lived deep in the forest full of fern. He dwelled himself in a little hole he dug for himself. Night and day, he would sneak down into the nearby villages to play a lot of mischief. He would go into the farms and would dig up all the potatoes. He would set fire to hay that was being dried. And he would also pluck the red peppers that were being hung to dry behind the farmers' houses. It was one autumn. The rain kept on coming down for 2 or 3 days. Gon, unable to go out, stayed in his hole and had to stay crawled up. Once the rain finally stopped, Gon crawled out as he felt a sense of relief. The sky was dry and bright, and the tripping of the shrike rang sharply in the air. Gon wandered out to the edge of a small river by the village. Dewdrops still glittered on silver grass. The river, usually shallow, now ran swift with the rainwater. The yellow muddy water now covered the silver grass and stumps that would normally be dry. As Gon kept on walking downstream along the muddy path, he noticed somebody doing something, standing inside the water. Gon slowly hid where the grass was deeper, took a little peek to see who it was. That's Hyoju, Gon thought. Hyoju had his black kimono rolled up and was standing waist deep in the water, shaking a fishing net called harikiri. A round leaf was stuck on the side of his face as if it was a large black mole. As he waited, Gon saw Hyoju lifting the net from the water. Inside were tangled roots, leaves of grass, and rotten and decayed tree bits. But here and there, something white shined its way through. The white stomach of eels and parts of silago flashed in the sunlight. Hyoju threw them all, the fish, the eel, and the debris, into his bag. He then tied the mouth of the net and sank it back again into the waters. Afterward, Hyoju climbed out of the river, set his bag on the riverbank, and ran upstream. As Hyoju went, Gon jumped out of the grass and ran himself to the bag that Hyoju left. He felt a sudden urge for mischief. One by one, he snatched the fish out of the fishing bag and started throwing them back into the muddy waters, aiming further than where the fishing net was set. Each fish made a splash, boom, and disappeared into the yellow water. Gon was finally getting his hands on his last prey, the huge fat eel. He tried to grab it, but the eel was so slippery it kept wiggling out of his hands. Gon, irritated, stuck his head inside the fishing bag, bit the eel's head to pull it out. The eel let out a little squeak and wrapped itself tightly around Gon's neck. Just then, from the distance, Hyoju shouted, "Thief! Fox thief!" Gon jumped. He tried to fling off the eel and run, but the eel clung on harder on Gon's neck, not letting go. Gon sprung up and ran away as fast and far as he could. He came back to his little base underneath an alder tree, looked back to confirm that Kyoju was out of his sight. Now calm and feeling relieved, Gon bit off the head of the eel at last and placed it free, laying it on the leaf right outside his little hole. Chapter 2. It was about 10 days later that Gon was walking behind the house of Yasuke, a farmer. That was when he saw Yasuke's wife painting her teeth black with ohaguro underneath the fig tree. As Gon walked past the house of Shinbe, the blacksmith, he saw Shinbe's wife combing her hair. Gon thought, something's going on in the village. I wonder what it is. Maybe an autumn festival. If it was a festival, I should be able to hear the sounds of taiko drums and flutes. And where are the banners that are supposed to be raised at the shrine? As he mused to himself, he found himself by Kyoju's house. He saw the red well that was in front of his house. He then saw a number of villagers gathered inside the small half-broken house. The women, wearing nice kimonos with little towels hanging from their waists, were making fire in the kitchen. Gon could see something was simmering in the large pot. Oh, thought Gon, a funeral. I wonder which one of Kyoju's family members has passed away. When noon passed, Gon crept to the village graveyard and hid himself behind the shadow of the 6 Jizo statues. It was a sunny day, and far away, the tiles of the castle rooftop shined, reflecting the autumn sunlight. Red spider lilies bloomed as if they were a scarlet carpet being laid on the ground. Then came the sound of the bell. Kang, kang, it went. It was the sound of the bells telling the villagers the arrival of the funeral party. As time passed, Gon could see people making their way to the graveyard, dressed in white. The voices grew louder as they drew near. The spider lilies laid flat where they walked. Gon stretched up to look. Kyoju was there, wearing a white kamishimo, a ceremonial robe, holding Buddhist mortuary tablets. His face, usually red and healthy as if it were a sweet potato, sunk in sadness. I see. It was his mother. Gon thought to himself and drew his head back into hiding. That night, Gon sat alone in his hole thinking. Kyoju's mother was probably ill, bedridden, and told her son that she wished for an eel to eat. That must be why Kyoju brought out his fishing net. But I played that prank and took the eel away, and because of that, Kyoju couldn't feed her. She probably died without tasting it. She must have died thinking, "Oh, I wish I could eat some eel. I wish I could taste some eel. Oh, what a cruel thing I've done." Chapter 3. Kyoju was washing some barley at the red well. Kyoju had lived with his mother, and it was just the two of them until now. Now that she is gone, he is all alone. All lonely by himself, like me, thought Gon, watching Kyoju as he hid behind the shadows of Kyoju's shed. As Gon turned to leave, he heard a voice of the sardine seller. "Cheap sardines, fresh and shiny." Gon ran to the lively voice. It was then Yasuke's wife came to the back door to ask, "Sardines, please." The sardine seller stopped his little cart with the basket on, grabbed a few shiny sardines with his hands and carried them into Yasuke's house. As he saw the opportunity, Gon snatched 5 or 6 sardines from the basket and darted away. He slipped into Hyoju's house from the back door and threw the sardines in before fleeing back to his little hole. As he reached the hilltop, Gon looked back to witness Hyoju still by his well, washing barley. Gon thought that he was able to do one good deed to make up for the eel. The next day, Gon gathered a pile of chestnuts from the mountain and carried them back to Hyoju's house. As he peeked in, he saw Hyoju sitting with a rice bowl in his hand, looking as if he was deep into his own thoughts. Oddly enough, Hyoju had a little scrape on his cheek. I wonder, Gon thought, as Hyoju started to mutter. Who on earth was it that threw sardines into my house? Because all of that, the sardine seller thought that I was a thief and gave me a beating. Gon's heart sank. Poor Hyoju was hit because of me. He decided to leave the chestnuts quietly by the door of Hyoju's shed and made his way back. From then on, every day, Gon brought chestnuts to Hyoju's house and later matsutake mushrooms too, leaving them behind. Chapter 4. It was night, and the moon was bright. Gon wandered out for a walk. As he was passing beneath Lord Nakayama's castle, he saw 2 figures approaching. Their voices faintly audible, and the bell crickets were chirping. Chinchirorin, chinchirorin. Gon hid beside the road and listened. The voices got closer and closer. It was Hyoju and Kasuke, another farmer. You know, Kasuke, said Hyoju. Kasuke responded. Some weird stuff has been happening to me lately. What is it? Ever since my mother passed, someone's been leaving things for me, chestnuts and mushrooms, every day. Well, who? That's just it, I don't know. Someone leaves them before I even notice. Gon quietly followed. Are you sure about that? It's true. If you don't believe me, come over tomorrow. I will show you the chestnuts. They kept walking in silence. Kasuke suddenly turned his head back. Gon flinched and stood still. Kasuke, not seeing Gon, kept on walking. As they came to the house of a farmer called Kichibe, the 2 went inside. From within came the sound of a Buddhist wooden fish gong. Pong, 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 it went, as the light flickered on the paper doors, showing the shadow of a shaven head of a monk moving. A Buddhist service, Gon thought, crouching beside the well. As he waited, 3 more people came and went into the house. The voices of the chants drifted into the night. Chapter 5. Gon waited until the service ended, crawling himself up next to the little well. Hyoju and Kasuke left together. Gon followed, as he decided that he wanted to listen to what they were saying. Gon walked as he stepped on the long shadow cast by Hyoju's body. As they came back near the castle, Kasuke said, I've been thinking, the story you told me just now, that must be a work of a god. Hyoju looked up looking surprised. Huh? I've been thinking about it. It can't be a human being. It has to be a god. A god must have taken pity on you, being lonely, living alone, and is sending you blessings to cheer you up. Can that be? It must be. You should really thank the god every day, you know? Yeah, I guess. Gon thought to himself, how boring and disappointing. I'm the one who's bringing him those chestnuts and matsutake mushrooms, yet he is giving credit to the gods instead. How unfair. Chapter 6. The next day, Gon made his way again to Hyoju's house carrying chestnuts. Hyoju was in his shed, twisting ropes. Gon decided that he would just quietly creep through the back door and make his way into the house. Just then, Hyoju looked up, and there he was, a fox, entering his house. Why, it's that fox Gon, he thought. The fox who stole my eel the other day. He must be back to play more mischief. Alright then. Hyoju stood up, grabbed his gun leaning on his shed, and loaded it with gunpowder. Softly, he crept closer, making sure that the fox couldn't hear him. And as Gon was about to step out the doorway, bang, the gun went off. Gon fell to the ground. Hyoju ran to him. Looking inside the house, Hyoju saw a pile of chestnuts placed on the floor. Oh my, Hyoju muttered, astonished, looking at the chestnuts and Gon the fox. Gon, it has been you. Were you the one who has been bringing me these chestnuts all this time? Gon gave a faint nod, his eyes closed. Hyoju's gun slipped from his hand and clattered to the ground. From the muzzle rose a thin wisp of blue smoke, drifting upward, curling softly into the air.